You woke up, but you didn't wake up. Your phone is already in your hand before you even remember who it is. 12 alarms, no motivation. You open your computer, and the screen stares back at you as if it knows that today, again, is going to be hard. The to-do list doesn't feel like organization. It feels like judgment. Each item, a silent reminder that you're falling behind. You try to get started, but instead, you get lost. A click, a tablazat, a short video, another, a scroll, another. Your brain, hungry for anything that distracts you from what really matters, and all the while, a part of you screams for air. You feel like you're drowning in a sea of stimuli, and yet you feel empty. This isn't laziness, it's invisible overload. And I know this because I've been there too. This video is for you who are tired of feeling fragmented, unproductive, paralyzed. Don't expect quick results or hectic cuts. Just me, you, a conversation, and maybe a beginning. Everything I've described so far, I've also lived through. That's why I speak with certainty. You're not lazy, you're just overwhelmed, lost in a flood of powerful distractions that seem impossible to resist. And trust me, that's completely normal in today's world. We are surrounded by more sensory input than at any other time in history. It's not that you lack strength or ability. The truth is, staying focused is almost a miracle. This video will be different from what you're used to watching. No fast edits, no flashy visuals, just me talking directly to you. Think of this as a quiet space, a moment to slow down and let your mind breathe. My goal is simple: to help you understand why you feel so overstimulated and share 3 essential steps to reclaim your focus and take back control of your life. Because I know what it's like. It's one of the worst feelings, lying in bed at night, replaying the day, and feeling like a failure for not managing to complete even the simplest tasks. It can be crushing. Maybe you didn't manage to send that email, start that document, and write a couple of paragraphs, or even read the 5 pages you promised yourself. This isn't because you're lazy or uninterested in life. It's because somewhere along the way, your ability to focus on deeper tasks started slipping away. Before we go any further, I want to make one thing clear. This video isn't a magic fix for all your problems. Think of it as a guide, a starting point for the changes you need to make. And the first step is simple. Stay with me until the end. I know your hand might be itching to open another tab, check the comments, or glance at your phone. But pause for a moment. Focus. This is where you begin taking back control of your attention, and in turn, your life. What I'm about to share with you is powerful. It worked for me, and it works because it's based on real science. So take a deep breath, clear your mind, and follow along. The first key is understanding why you feel so overstimulated. And yes, dopamine plays a role, but not in the way most people think. Although dopamine is often linked to pleasure, its main function is actually motivation. A fascinating experiment demonstrates this clearly. Scientists studied an animal with a severely reduced dopamine system and placed it near a lever. Every time the animal pressed the lever, it received food or even a direct dose of cocaine, a highly pleasurable stimulus. As long as the lever was within reach, the animal kept pressing it, continuously receiving the reward. However, the moment it had to move slightly to access the lever, it gave up. It knew the reward was there, but lacked the drive to pursue it. Dopamine is responsible for pushing us toward rewards that come from the outside world. This was essential for our ancestors, as it drove them to hunt, gather water, and find shelter. But in today's world, that same mechanism keeps us glued to our screens, scrolling through endless content, like watching Cristiano Ronaldo's latest updates. We now live in an era of extreme stimuli, constantly overloading our dopamine system and amplifying our craving for instant gratification to its highest level. The key is to recognize this pattern and gradually take back control over your own drive and objectives. When our dopamine system is overstimulated, it becomes less effective. In simple terms, we start needing more dopamine to achieve the same level of satisfaction that once required much less. This is why you often feel unmotivated to read, write, study, or work. These activities don't provide the same instant gratification as scrolling through Instagram, watching TikTok videos, or binge watching Netflix. These highly stimulating activities take over our brain's reward system, fooling us into thinking we are engaging in something urgent or essential for survival. That's why the urge to check an Instagram notification can feel overwhelming. You're not just overstimulated, you're also trying to protect an identity. The mind that once protected you now only repeats the void. You're not lacking logic, you're lacking connection. And the dopamine loops you're caught in, they don't just distract you. They help you sustain the image of being in control while you drift further from yourself. Living like this becomes acting, performing productivity, but beneath all that is silence. And that silence is where the real question lives. What are you avoiding by staying constantly stimulated? One of the most significant findings in neuroscience over the past 75 years is that the same part of the brain that processes pleasure also processes pain. These two forces work like a balance scale. This is a critical concept, so stay with me. When you eat chocolate or scroll through Instagram, your brain releases a surge of dopamine, creating a feeling of pleasure. To restore balance, your brain reacts by reducing dopamine levels, since the scale has tipped too far toward pleasure. In an attempt to even things out, the brain shifts weight to the pain side, but it doesn't always get the adjustment just right. Sometimes, it overcompensates. Dr. Anna Lembke, author of the excellent book Dopamine Nation, explains this using a gremlin analogy. Imagine the brain placing tiny gremlins on the pain side of the scale to restore balance. The issue is that these gremlins don't leave right away. They linger, pushing the scale too far in the opposite direction, leading to an exaggerated sense of discomfort. That's why, after indulging in fast food or spending an hour scrolling through social media without gaining anything valuable, you often feel worse. The real challenge is that, in today's world, the brain has unlimited access to easy pleasure. We are constantly surrounded by stimuli that keep the scale tipped toward pleasure, making it harder to maintain a natural balance. And when you finally pause to be alone with your thoughts, your brain starts shifting weight to the pain side, and suddenly you find yourself thinking, "My life is terrible." The feeling of being burdened by endless responsibilities, so much so that even small tasks like replying to an email or reading an article feel impossible, is more common than you might think. But here's the deeper layer no algorithm can name. Every time you avoid silence, a part of your unconscious is trying to speak. Carl Jung called it the shadow, not something evil, but something unintegrated. The urge to scroll, the craving for distraction, isn't just about pleasure. It's about avoidance. Avoidance of a pain you never learned to name, of a voice inside you that you've silenced for years. The discomfort you feel when there's nothing to stimulate you isn't emptiness. It's your inner self knocking, asking to be seen, not in likes, not in validation, but in quiet attention. When this happens, we instinctively seek quick pleasures to lighten the emotional load. But how do we break this cycle? While we can't change how our brain is wired, we can learn to adjust that internal scale. The trick is to intentionally lean into the pain side first, pushing ourselves to engage in activities that require effort, like studying, reading, working out, or sticking to a structured diet. By doing this, the brain naturally responds by shifting toward the pleasure side to restore balance. This process allows us to enjoy rewards in a way that feels more stable and fulfilling. Over time, as you gradually move away from constant instant gratification, you'll notice that your overall sense of satisfaction improves. The key is to face discomfort in a controlled and intentional way so that you can enjoy the long-term benefits. It might seem strange at first, but choosing productive discomfort, like the kind that comes from learning, exercising, or working toward a goal, helps reset your dopamine system, leading to deeper and more lasting fulfillment. Friedrich Nietzsche once said that those who have a why to live can bear almost any how, but he also believed that most people don't suffer from too much pain. They suffer from running from it. In a world addicted to ease, the strongest act of rebellion is choosing discomfort. Comfort is cheap, but strength costs pain. When you choose voluntary struggle, to read when you're tired, to move your body when your mind resists, to work without applause, you're not just doing something difficult. You're retraining your soul to stop associating challenge with failure. And that's the only path to inner resilience in a world built to make you weak. In this video, we will explore 3 essential pillars to help you reset that inner balance: the mind, the body, and the power of stillness. Let's begin with the mind. The first thing you need to understand is that you have the ability to choose what you take in. The overstimulation you're experiencing happens because at some point you lost that control, allowing yourself to be swept away by whatever content comes your way. The good news? You can take back that control. I noticed that when I became intentional about what I allowed into my mind, everything started to change. If you don't make that choice, the algorithm will, and it will always pick what is most stimulating and readily available. Don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting you get rid of your phone or completely abandon social media. In fact, the internet and social platforms can be incredibly useful. They allow us to learn, stay connected, and even enjoy moments of entertainment. The issue isn't that we use them, but how we use them. The goal should be mindful consumption, choosing carefully what you want to nourish your mind with. If you only watch memes and scroll without thinking, that's like eating junk food for your brain. And don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying you can't enjoy it occasionally. Just like having pizza once in a while isn't a problem, neither is consuming lighthearted content now and then. But imagine if every single meal you ate was fast food. Over time, it would harm your health, right? In the same way, filling your mind with unfiltered content all the time can have a negative impact. If you want to build a balanced relationship with the internet, you need to be intentional about what you engage with. The key is to identify the topics that genuinely interest you and seek out content that nurtures that curiosity. By doing this, you won't just make better use of your time online. You'll also rediscover real enjoyment in the things you watch, read, and do every day. Let's say you closely follow the work of the bodybuilder Ramondino. That interest might lead you to explore different training styles, workout techniques, and nutrition plans. Maybe you also follow people like Wesley Delon Garcia, whom I personally admire. If we take a closer look at neuroscience, we'll see that the way we consciously choose content is completely different from when we consume it passively. When you open YouTube or Instagram with a specific goal in mind, you're actively looking for something, rather than just allowing the algorithm to flood you with whatever it finds most engaging. This kind of deliberate consumption doesn't just capture your attention, it directs it towards something meaningful. Beyond consuming content more mindfully, I strongly encourage you to find a way to share what you're learning. You could make videos on YouTube, like I do. You can also explore other ways to share your thoughts, like creating podcasts, writing articles, or starting a newsletter. The key is to begin in any way you can. One of the simplest ways to start is by doing what I did in the beginning, writing down everything that catches your interest. Take note of your ideas, opinions, and reflections. This practice helps shape new perspectives and deepen your understanding of things. Producing videos, writing, or creating any type of content can be challenging, but it's also incredibly fulfilling. In the end, it brings a sense of balance between effort and reward, especially when you complete something and feel that rush of satisfaction from having created something meaningful. It's important to remember that purpose and clarity in life don't just appear out of nowhere. They come through action. It's not clarity that leads to action, but action that leads to clarity. To gain that sense of direction, you need to read, write, and reflect regularly. Now, shifting the focus to the body, and I'm not talking about appearance. It's essential to find a physical activity that you genuinely enjoy. It can be something as simple as a daily walk or a more intense workout, but the most important thing is to make it a consistent part of your routine. This habit not only enhances your well-being, bringing more joy and counteracting a sedentary lifestyle, but scientific research, like the study I'm showing on the screen, proves its benefits. When comparing individuals who walk 10,000 steps daily with those who temporarily reduce their movement to just 1,500 steps before returning to 10,000, the results showed advantages beyond the obvious. There was a significant reduction in insulin resistance, as well as a decrease in body and liver fat. More than anything, engaging in any form of exercise plays a crucial role in regulating metabolism, lowering anxiety, and sharpening brain function. Physical activity is one of the most effective ways to restore balance between the body and mind, precisely because it requires effort and resilience. At first, it can feel tough, even discouraging, especially on cold days when you question why you're out running. But by the time you finish, the sense of accomplishment is unmatched. The secret is to find a type of exercise that encourages you to step outside every day, even when it feels challenging. Now, I want to introduce a concept that is possibly one of the most important: the power of yet. A few years ago, I came across a book called Mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck. In it, she explains how the way we think influences how we handle challenges. She conducted an experiment with 10-year-old children, giving them problems that were far beyond their current abilities. As expected, they didn't succeed. Most of the children became discouraged, believing the test measured their intelligence, and since they couldn't solve the problems, they felt less capable. However, a small group had the opposite reaction. Instead of feeling defeated, they got excited, seeing the challenge as a chance to learn something new. Dr. Dweck realized that the difference between these groups was their mindset. Children with a fixed mindset thought that intelligence and problem-solving skills were something you were simply born with and couldn't change. This made them feel frustrated when they faced difficulties. On the other hand, children with a growth mindset believed that skills could be improved with effort and practice. Of course, some people have natural talents, whether it's singing, playing an instrument, or excelling in sports like basketball. But the truth is, all of us can improve in any area if we're willing to put in the time and dedication. What I find most inspiring about the growth mindset is that it values effort above all. Many times, we believe that if something requires a lot of effort, it means we're not naturally good at it. However, even experts and highly talented individuals face difficulties and put in countless hours of practice to reach the level of mastery we admire. During college, I would spend hours studying for exams or working on complex assignments. Occasionally, I'd catch myself thinking, Michelangelo had already created the Pietà by the age of 23, and here I am, unsure if self-help books even work. I must be a failure. But in reality, struggling with something doesn't mean we're failing. In fact, effort is the very thing that allows us to accomplish anything truly valuable in life. By dedicating ourselves deeply, we train our brain to recognize that what we're focusing on is important. The real question is, how do we develop this so-called growth mindset? Dr. Carol Dweck, who has extensively studied this idea, explains that our mindset isn't fixed. It can change and evolve throughout our lives. In some areas, we may have a more rigid way of thinking, while in others, we might already embrace growth and learning. The first step is recognizing where we're stuck in a fixed mindset and working to shift it. This is where the power of yet comes in. Instead of saying, I'm not good at math, we can start saying, I'm not good at math yet. Or, I don't know how to play the guitar yet. By looking at things this way, you start to appreciate the process of learning and your own personal growth. No one is born knowing everything. We all have skills to develop and areas in which we can improve. Acknowledging this gives us the motivation to keep going, even when doubts arise, when others discourage us, or when we question our own progress. Understanding that everything is part of a journey allows us to say, I'm not good at this yet, but I'm getting there. Shifting your mindset, taking care of your body, and being more mindful of what you consume online. These 3 pillars create a foundation for change. This realization transformed my life and inspired me to start this YouTube channel, to share these ideas and help others find their own way. I know this video was long, just me speaking directly to the camera. Maybe you liked it, maybe you didn't. Let me know in the comments what you think of this format. But the most important thing is this: you are in charge of your own path. Your mind belongs to you. If you don't take control, the world will do it for you. And the truth is, the world doesn't care about your mental health or well-being. The world only cares about capturing your attention to make a profit, without thinking about the consequences. But here's something you should be proud of. If you've made it this far, you've already taken the first step. You focused on something that wasn't just quick, fleeting entertainment, and that's already a victory. It's the start of reclaiming control over your mind, your focus, and your life. Just keep one thing in mind. This video isn't a magic solution. You won't walk away instantly transformed. This is just the beginning of a journey, a process that unfolds step by step. Now, the choice is yours. Will you take charge of your brain and your life, or will you keep letting algorithms decide for you? Because if you don't take control, someone else will. And that someone isn't a villain in a dark room. It's the system, the feed, the platforms built to harvest your attention, not to protect your mind.